As a yoga teacher and a studio owner, I am coming into the realization of how important it is to connect with my audience via email. And to be honest, this feels really overwhelming and really daunting. So if you're like me and you want to learn more about what it looks like to build an email list and to connect with your audience on a greater level, increasing your business, and you just want to know how to get started, this episode is going to be for you.
Or maybe you're not sure. You've heard about email and for some reason, maybe you've been resistant to it, or you just didn't think it was for you, or just haven't really paid any attention to it. But now you're curious. We're going to talk through not only why email could help you as a yoga teacher or help grow your business, but also talk about how to actually get started and grow your email list so that you actually have people to send emails to.
So grab your coffee or beverage of your choice, pull up a chair, and have a chat with us. Well, welcome back to the Jesus Coffee Yoga Podcast, where we sit down and we talk to and with and about yoga teachers just like you, helping you build your business by design, where you can do the work you love and that you feel called to do and still live a fulfilling life.
And if you're new here, welcome to our show. I'm Nick. This is Kristen. And we just love to help yoga teachers or fitness instructors, studio owners, do exactly what she said. Just build this business that they love, that fuels their life and doesn't suck all the energy from them. If this is your first time listening to this and you love what we're putting out, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you catch our future episodes, and go back and check out some of our past episodes. If you like this, we think you'll also enjoy those.
Hello, sir. Welcome back.
Howdy.
Let's talk about what's in our cups real quick and educate the people on the coffee. And we're going to get into this episode. You've got your cup ready. You're like,
all right. I'm just waiting.
You were waiting.
He's going to ask me, Nick, what's in your mug? Nick, what's in your mug? It is an Ethiopian something with some fruity notes in it. It's quite flavorful.
Is it? I think that's different than what you've been doing. I'm still working on my mushroom coffee from this morning, and I'm feeling nice and energized, ready to go for this podcast. So sounds good. We hope that you guys have a warm beverage or a favorite beverage and you're ready for this episode. So let's talk about emails. This is something that I am personally working on in my own business. And as we were going through it and I was asking you a lot of questions, and you have really grown and built our email audience for Christians Do Yoga. A lot of you guys are listening to this because of that and Nick's work to do that. But as I was starting to do this for my personal brand, I found myself kind of reaching out to Nick saying, okay, where do I even start? Like, I don't even know what to do. Who am I talking to? I do have some subscribers, like email subscribers. How can I nurture them and really connect with them? And so we thought that there are probably other people like us or like me who are in kind of the same boat. Like, I know I want to do this to grow my business. Where do I start? So that's why we decided to make this podcast.
Yeah. So I think maybe just to start, let me just give kind of a quick overview of like why email. A lot of times people are a little resistant to this, especially if you're if you and your audience is more of a like phone based, like we don't really use email, because there is a subset of people who are like, I pay attention to emails. Like, I don't like emails. But like, if you're alive today, you probably have an email address of some sort, because like we need them for certain things. If we have an account for anything that requires access, like it's all email based. So everyone pretty much has an email address, and we do use it when we have to. But I would say there's a large subset of people who use it and enjoy it, and they use it for certain things. So first off, if you're in that category of like, I hate email and I don't do it, like that doesn't mean your audience is in that same boat. They might be, but likely you're going to have a mix of people who are and people who aren't. So don't just discount it because you just don't like it. Also, I want to say, don't get overwhelmed. It can be an extremely overwhelming thought to implement this, because it can be complicated and there's some tech involved. And if you're not techie, a lot of times people that I've worked with they just let the thought of it stop them from moving forward. Even though really you just take it step by step, bit by bit, and there's tons of tutorials and courses even, like you can learn how to do this, and it's really not hard once you get your head wrapped around like the structure and the strategy. So Why I tell people that they should, and I'm going to say right now, you should have an email list. You should build an email list, and I'm going to tell you why. So I heard someone say recently, and I forget who it was, that you don't want to build a business on rented land. And they were referring to not using email and only using social media to grow your business. So I want to throw the caveat out there that you totally can build a business on social media. Not saying you can't. I'm saying you shouldn't, because you don't own any of that. At any time, the social media companies, and they've done this several times, they can change the rules and they can totally freeze your account, take your account, like lock you down. Well, let's not talk about the whole like ghosting, like, oh, I'm in jail. Like, I don't know, maybe you're, we'll not go into the content stuff. That'll be a future episode. But this is like, you can totally lose access to your account. And I've seen this happen to people on
I've
like
had it
Instagram.
happen before.
Yeah. And like, I mean, not just like, oh, I'm posting and no one's seeing my stuff. No, literally like locking you out. And this happened to someone that I met in this group that I'm in, because her account got hacked. And then the hacker posted some bad stuff. And then Instagram like locked it down. And she had to create a new account. And she, like, for whatever reason, they wouldn't let her back in. So there's a multitude of reasons, even days where like social media is down and like you can't post, you can't check, you can't chat with people. Like, there's all these reasons why you don't want to only. So I'm not saying don't use social media and only use email. I'm saying it should be both. It should be a both, not an either or. So that's a big part of it. With email, you own that. It's your list. It's not some other company saying like you can't message those people. With social media, even let's say it's up, you have access, but you post content and like not everyone sees what you post. Even if they want to follow you, sometimes Facebook, just the algorithm doesn't show them everything. And why? Because they want you to pay to reach your people. I mean, that's really, it's their revenue model is ad based. That's how they make their money. So if they know you're a business and they're really good at figuring this out, they will restrict who sees your content. Conversely, with email, you own that list. And anytime you want to contact your people, whether it's just to touch base, to share some information, or to sell something, you can do that anytime you want. Now, there are some things to keep in mind, like sometimes emails go to spam, sometimes people don't see it. Like that, you're gonna have that either way. But you're not restricted in like how often and who you can email. You want to send them a message, you can. So that's really the strength of it. And lastly, I would say that the big reason why email is important is because you can automate some things. You can automate when they find you, get on their list and send them a series of emails. You can welcome them into your world, and you can like nurture the relationship with this person automatically. So it frees up a little bit of time where you don't have to manually email everything when you've got a lead magnet, which we'll talk about in a minute, something valuable, a freebie, freemium, some people call them, that you want to give to people for free and they get on your list. Like, you can automate that. If you have something where you're like, hey, if you're interested in the retreats I'm having, whatever, like go here and sign up, you can automate that. Like so it opens up a lot of potential to automate some things that right now you would have to do manually one by one. Someone's like, email me this thing, and then you got to go log in and do it. So it cuts some of that stuff out.
So I want to speak to just something that you mentioned earlier about like how it can be overwhelming and it's, there are some moving pieces, but I just want to share like maybe a conversation that I have with myself that I'd like to challenge other teachers in this same way is it's just a skill to learn. So just like you learned how to take 20, asanas and put them together and make a whole class out of them, like you can learn how to do this. And I think it's really important. The more I learn why, not even the how or what I'm going to put in my email or who I'm going to try to reach, like just kind of why, like what is the importance of having an email? Like the more I learn about that and the impacts that it can have on my business and the way I can connect with them differently, even than just social media, that makes me want to learn this. So I had to like challenge myself and kind of self coach a little bit and say, we need to learn this skill, just like you had to learn to teach yoga or you had to learn to teach bar or, whatever it is that we as teachers will continue to, sometimes thrust ourselves into learning new things. Why is this any different? It, why it may feel overwhelming, but it's only overwhelming until you kind of learn it, and you just got to keep practicing it. So I just want to kind of throw that in there before we get into the lead magnets and the autos stuff and all of that. It can feel overwhelming, but if you can come into this conversation with the mindset of, I'm learning something new, I'm literally training my brain to learn something new. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to feel comfortable. It doesn't need to whatever. Like, I learned a new fitness thing this morning in my workout class, and I was like, I've never done this before. And I felt the same way I feel about emails. Like, it felt the same to my brain. So if we can challenge ourselves in that way, like, just here's the space, here's the grace to learn something new that's going to make our life easier, make our business grow, reach more people, impact more people, put more money in our bank, put more time in our time bank. Why wouldn't I learn this skill? Even if it takes me all year, all of 2024 to learn how to do this in a way that feels okay for my business and my lifestyle and what I'm willing to put into it. Why wouldn't I do that? If it's going to make me better and, a better experience from my clients and all of that. So I just wanted to kind of pause before we get into the nitty gritty part of it, and just kind of speak to the teachers for a second of like, can we have this shift of perspective before we engage in this conversation?
Yeah, that's good. And anytime we work with clients, Kristen and I do some coaching, and often my role is mindset stuff, but also on the tech side. And because this just does come naturally to me, but I'm also gifted in breaking things down and explaining things. Now, I can get in the weeds, I can get super detailed and nerdy, and I can go on tangents. That definitely happens. But I can rein it in, and I do have a gift, I believe, to kind of make things a little less complicated. And so keep that in mind. And then also, you're not building my kids are into Lego, so let's use Lego as an example. You've got this giant Lego set. Like, you're not going to start from square one and suddenly just throw together this huge Lego set. Like, you got to build the foundational pieces first. Or like I use this with a coaching client recently, that in order to build a skyscraper, you first start digging down. You get down to the bedrock and you pour a solid foundation. And like, there's all this work that happens, and you don't even see progress really unless you like look down into a hole. And then all of a sudden you've got that foundation, and suddenly you start building, and now we can build up and get levels above that. But if you don't have that foundation, you can try to build up and then it'll topple. So I would say building this email list, like, it's part of that foundation of your business, and just take it in pieces. We're just gonna layer just brick by brick. All right. You don't have to put all the bricks on at once, just brick by brick. And that's a lot less overwhelming. So don't look at this whole conversation is more of like what could be and what you can work towards, but it's not, you need to set all of this up right now.
Right.
So whatever it is for you, there could be pieces where you're like, I'm just going to implement this one piece. I'm just going to create an account and have an email list and start reaching out to the people I already have on my list. That's a great place to start. So I don't want to get too far into stuff we're going to cover here in the middle, but I just
Yeah.
wanted to encourage you to not get overwhelmed, and don't aim to have all of this done right now. We'll take it piece by piece.
Okay, so I have a couple questions that I had that I thought might be helpful for, some of our listeners today that I asked you, and maybe just kind of did a little research on my own. Okay, so here are my questions. Why do I need an email? How do I get more people or the right people on my email list? How do I know what to share? What are some things I should not do? And how often should I contact my audience?
So those are really common questions that I get when I work with people and helping set up their email system and their strategy. The first one, the why, I've already touched on. I accidentally dove into my first point when I was just kind of giving the first little part in the intro. But just to kind of summarize that, under the why, you own your email list, you don't own social media, and you have almost no control over who sees your content. So that's the big part of the why. Also, you can connect with people on a deeper level. Where social media, people are just scrolling, they might read the whole thing, they might not, they might just skim it. People do that on email too, but they're much more likely, especially when you get better at writing good subject lines and just writing in general, people are more likely to read the email, especially once they get used to you, they get to know you, and it draws them in. They're like, I want to know, what's going on. So it's a really great tool for nurturing the relationship because you can, one, email them anytime you want. Two, you can automate some of that. Again, don't let automation freak you out, but there are some ways that you can automatically help people get to know you better and nurture the relationship, even when you're like at the beach or sleeping or whatever. With social media, they don't see all your posts. Even if they're following you, like, I'm not sure even if there's a way to always see everything. Just Facebook decides what to show you, and like you just don't get a say in that unless you go look at their page and like manually scan everything. But with email, they have the opportunity to see every email. Now they might not. Some people are like Kristen is one of those where there's like 7,000 unread emails. Or what is yours up
It's
to right
still
now?
higher. I'll show you. I know. It's ridiculous.
That stresses me out. I'm
I
a
know.
zero. Like well, part of it is because I have clients, and like
Do
if
you
if
wanna
they
see?
need something, I need to answer. But
Can you see it?
hold on, it's go up. Wait, down. Oh, there it is. 15,000. Oh, that just gives me
I
like
know.
I'm
I
feeling a
know.
little anxious right now for you.
I get free. Get free from that anxiety. I am.
For me, like email is a main method of communication with some clients. So like if I miss something, like I can mess up someone else's business. So that's part of why I am so like, and I come from a world, from a corporate world where like email is it's important to keep up with stuff. So whew, okay, gotta let it go. I gotta
Take it
breathe a
off.
little bit.
Take it off.
Can we just take a deep breath, everybody?
Everybody just take a deep breath.
Maybe
Let's get Nick out of fight or flight right now.
I'm stressed about that number on her screen. You might be stressed about how complicated email is. Let's all
There
just
you
take a
go.
deep breath
Now
through your
a little
nose.
little empathy there.
Hold it. 1, 2,
Breathe out.
3, 4, and let it out.
Everybody let it out.
Okay.
Shake it off. Shake it off. I'm not stressed at all about that.
But everyone has the opportunity to see all of your emails unless they're like Kristen and they just don't read email. But but they at least have the opportunity. But there's no algorithms like, I'm not gonna show this email to your people today. Also, and we can get into this later. Hold on, let me check my notes. I'll touch on it now. So this answers one of your questions about like, what do I email about? And we can dive into any of these at any point. So if you're like, let's talk about that, stop me. So ideas of what you can talk about in your emails. One can be encouragement and inspiration. So it could be storytelling of like a time where you struggled and like what you did to overcome it. It can just be something, and sometimes you can look at this like, this is a social media post and it's a long one. It doesn't have to be long. The length, that's irrelevant, but you can use that as an email, if it's something that's inspirational or something that could encourage your audience. Like you can turn that into an email. You can email them with current offerings. So this could just be like a weekly roundup of like, here's what's going on at Kristen Yoga or whatever your thing. What's your thing called again? Wellness.
Inside out wellness.
Inside out wellness. Like here's what we got going on, and it could just be a, here's our public classes. Hey, here's a thing, almost like a newsletter. I hate the term newsletter. Please, please, please don't put on your website or wherever like, get on my newsletter. No one wants to be on a newsletter.
How much a newsletter?
No one
Clearly.
wants to subscribe to a newsletter.
Yeah.
If you offer something of value, they'll want that. So like you can phrase it differently, but you can still let them know, like, especially if you're using this to reach your local audience. Hey, here's what's coming up. Don't forget, I have a series coming up. Like sign up or whatever. Just tell them here's what's going on. We have a special pop-up class in the park. Sign up. It's just a way to just remind them and get in front of them, let them know, hey, here's what's going on. You could also use like as a social media roundup, kind of like, here's the best of what's going on this week at Inside Out Wellness, and like maybe the posts that got the most engagement. You could have like, sections of the email where it's like, here was this in case you missed it, blah, 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 blah. It can either be a link that sends them to the post or just kind of summarize it, or I don't know, whatever. Those are the main things. And then you can also use it to just like sell things. You want to follow, I forget who I heard this from. It might have been Gary Vee, but one of those is, they tend to recommend like a 3-to-1 ratio of like, send emails that are just valuable in and of themselves without asking for something, without like flat out just selling something. Now, it's okay to sell things. You're a business. Like the people that I follow, that I choose to follow, and email is this way. You choose to get on someone's email list. I want whatever they're telling me about. And like if it's a brand that sells stuff, I know that. I'm going to buy stuff. I want to hear what they have to sell. I want to hear what's going on. Now, I don't want an email every day that's like, buy something, buy something. Like, okay, unsubscribe. But if there's like a weekly thing, like, hey, here's some sales. Like, ooh, I've been wanting that. Like, I'm gonna buy it, whatever. So it's okay. So just try to have like a 3-to-1 ratio though of like emails that just have like and it's okay if it's a here's what's going on. I have a retreat coming up. If that's buried in an email, I'm not calling that like one of those ask kind of emails. But if you just have one email where the sole purpose is like, hey, I have this thing coming up, sign up, join this class, join this thing. Like try to offset that with a few emails that are just helpful or inspirational or educational or informational. Another thing you can use, another why, is that you can offer special things to the people who are on your email list that aren't on social media. And this is a great way to answer one of your other questions, which I will answer in detail later. Is a way to get more people on your list is when you're posting on social media, you can say like, hey guys, like I have a special discount or a special early bird sign up or something, like you only get early access because this sells out if you're on my email list. And if you're not on my list, like go to this link and get on it. And so like there can be some ways that you can tease in other areas that I only offer this thing to people on my email list. You want to create some of that FOMO of like, oh my gosh, like I got to get on her list. I already mentioned you can automate some things. And then like the last thing I would say, people are like, well, when should I start? Or they might put these things in their mind of like, well, I'm not ready. I need to get to this, whatever this level is. I need to get here first before I can do that. And I would say, no. The best time to start an email list, what is that thing people say? Like the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The second best time is right now.
Yeah.
Don't wait like, oh, I got to wait. Someday I want a huge tree. Like the longer you wait, the longer it's going to take. So start now.
Don't be me. Don't be me.
Yeah. And I mean, and I'll say here, like, don't beat yourself up if
Yeah.
you're like, man, I need this. And I wish I would have done this a long time ago. I mean, there's so many things I wish I would have done a long time ago and I just didn't. Okay. I didn't. Move on. Now's the time to start. So now you can get in there and start.
And that's why we're here. And that's why I wanted to take everybody along with me as I'm learning this too. Because I feel like we can help people fast forward that process, hopefully, and not do what I did.
Yeah. And just don't let it scare you. Like it's not so scary. And you can get help. If you need help, the help is out there. Like I said before, there are tons of tutorials out there for all the major platforms. And I'll mention some platforms later. Okay. So number 2, I want to talk more specifically about how to grow your email list. The first thing I want to say is if you've already collected emails from anything in what you've already done, so whether you have waivers that people fill out and they have an email address, or like physical, maybe they've wrote it out on something, just anywhere that you've collected an email address for what you already do, add them to this list. So whatever tool you're using, there are ways to either import it if you like have it in a spreadsheet or a Google Sheet. If you just have it on a piece of paper, if you have it wherever you have it, whatever form you have it, you can either manually enter one by one, which is annoying, but I promise it's worth it. Or you can use a spreadsheet. I would actually recommend if you have it only on paper or like outside of a spreadsheet, put it in a spreadsheet and then bring it into your email address. I want to put this as like a professional note. Pro tip. It's good every now and then, once you have an email list, to export your list from your tool. So maybe just put a reminder in your phone like once a month. You
mean to put it in like a spreadsheet so that it's not, okay.
Yeah. So this is just a backup, like a safety copy that if for some reason something happened where maybe you accidentally deleted people, like I've done that. I was trying to clean up my list and I deleted the wrong people because I did something, whatever. Or maybe there is a problem with the technology that you selected. Maybe you're using MailChimp and like MailChimp crashed and it's unavailable, or you decided to go somewhere else. Just for any reason, it's just good to have a backup. So I'm not sure. I've probably only had to use it once, but I just do that every now and then. And I don't save over it. I just every once a month or so, I'll go in there and I'll just export it to a spreadsheet somewhere and just save it somewhere. It's just good to have. But anyway, it's helpful to have that in a list somewhere. So however you want to add it. But add any email address that you have for someone who's done something with you for yoga or fitness. Add them to your list. Okay, so the next thing, like the main way that I like to grow email lists for any kind of business is to come up with a lead magnet. Now, this is something that's free, that's valuable, and also it's something that's low commitment. So you don't want something that's like really heavy and requires a lot of time. So even if it's valuable and it's free, but it requires a big commitment, people are probably not gonna, they might sign up for it. And when they see it, they're like, oh my gosh, like I don't have time for this. So you want it to be something that's short. So some examples would be like a PDF, a guide of some sort. So for Christians Do Yoga, let me just use that as an example. For our student base or our student audience, we have a posture breakdown guide. And like you can totally rip off our ideas. Don't just copy it. Don't just steal what we've done.
Be
But you,
inspired.
but yeah, you can use it as inspiration. And even if you use the same poses, like I don't care. Just don't like actually just steal it. Just make your own guides or whatever. But what we did is we had, I think, like 15 of the most common postures. It has a picture of the posture, what it's called. It maybe even has some like AKAs, like also known as, because there's like 20 words for the same posture. And then uh, there's some text of like contraindications and whatever. Like you can just kind of give some helpful info and like a short breakdown of like, here's how to get into this pose. From down dog, do this and do that and whatever. You could also make a video version of that if you wanted to. You could have videos that you upload to like a YouTube channel. You can use YouTube even if you don't have like public facing YouTube content. You can just use it as a way to host video. So you could do that. You could say for each one, I made a short video, and then the PDF can just like link to the videos. Some other guides we have our daily soul care checklist. And that is still like, I think that was the first one we made and we still use it. It's still running and it
That
still
was like
attracts people.
7 years ago. And honestly, it was just something I was doing. I was going to pause you before you share some other ideas for lead magnets. Honestly, a lead magnet is for me would be like, so when we were working through mine, I was like, what are people asking me for right now? And or I really want to get more people interested in my retreats because that's really what part of my business I really want to pour energy into. What do people love at my retreats? And so what are they asking me for, or what's something that I'm doing that people are like, what are these things? And so my soul care checklist was literally just a couple of rituals that I did every day and I would put it like on my refrigerator or somewhere. I can't remember where we were at the time. And I would just make sure I did all these things every day. And I shared that on social media. People were like, I want to do this. We ran like a little like 7-day challenge to just do the. And then from there, that's when we're like, let's make this a thing where people can get it into their hands. It's free, it's whatever. And we still like, I mean, as of like, I don't know, maybe last week, Nick, you probably way better know than I do, but like people still download that thing, that guide, and I'm like, or that list. And I'm like, this is so cool. That's something that helped me get to where I am today. Even though I don't necessarily currently have an actual list anymore in that season, I needed that. It still helps people today, and it's growing the amount of eyes and ears that we have, and allowing, God will use that even 7 years later, 8 years. I don't even know how long ago it was, but it's kind of a timeless piece apparently. But what people are asking you for, like, what do they come to you for? People ask us teachers a lot about playlists and music and how to stream music on Zoom. So we made, a playlist. I don't remember what it was. What is a video where hey, if you want to know how to make your best playlist, click here and go to this. So you're actually helping people. It's not just junk. Like, it's not just like random stuff. It's like stuff that people are asking me. Because if these people who are my current audience are asking me for this thing, then the people that I want to reach that I don't yet know will want to know these same things too, maybe. Right. So I think that I just wanted to pause you on that because I'm working on my current lead magnet, which is different in this season based off what people want to know from me.
Yeah, that's really good. And you want to think about, how can I add value to my audience and create something that honestly you could charge for, but you won't. Like it needs to be good enough that you could charge money for this, but we're just choosing not to. So I think that's key. It needs to be valuable and not just you're not just putting junk out there that isn't valuable in and of itself. But my main point there, I think, was that you just want it to be like digestible, easily digestible, something that's like a quick hit. Like you can implement this, you can do this and get a result quickly. And like that works really well as a lead magnet. I don't know if I should give some more examples. I want to give examples because people get hung up on this. Like they get stuck on like, I just don't know what to do. Like, I don't know. And I would say anything that we suggest, anything that we try to teach you guys, nothing's permanent. Like you don't have to get it perfect in the first try. Just create something. And over time, you'll refine that. You're like, you know what? No one's downloaded this thing. I guess they don't want it. Okay, that's good feedback. Let me think of something else. I would say to just summarize lead magnets in general, it needs to be something that's relevant to your audience. So you're going to have things that you like to talk about that I would say are like sub segments of your audience. So for Kristen, you might have things that you like to talk about would be nutrition, fitness, like mindset, retreats. I don't know. Like there's certain compartments or buckets that some people that you like to work with they're only like a few of those. But there's probably something that they're all interested in. And I think everyone needs to have one that's applicable to like your whole audience. And then you can come up with smaller ones that when you're talking about retreats, you can then say, "Oh, by the way, I have this thing that all my retreat people talk about and like I created this whatever."
Do you want
And
me to
like,
share a real example?
yeah.
I just wrote it down because I actually have a little list going for you guys watching the video of lead magnet ideas. One of them is um, when I go to retreats, I always have a very strategic meal plan. I try to do meals that can be repurposed with the same, let's say the same meat or the same rice or the same whatever. And almost always people are like, what did you put in this? I'm like, I can tell you what I put in it. I can't tell you when or how much, but I can tell you what's in the pot. So something I'm challenging myself to do is to actually write down and record that process of how I'm making this food, because it's a lot of people that come to retreat. Like, have you ever tried to cook for 15 unique personalities for an entire weekend? It's really, really challenging. But I have found ways to make it work. And people are like, oh my gosh, they go home feeling like I have some new ideas of healthy meal recipes that actually taste good. And so I am working on writing out my retreat meal recipes. And I'm going to put it in a PDF and give that away. And it's also something from retreat. So it's kind of also subliminally reminding people that I offer retreats and you can come and cook with me. Like we literally just hang out and cook together. Like that's what we do at my retreats. So I'm putting together a lazy chef recipe meal plan, or I don't know exactly what I'll call it yet. But that way, when, because people, anytime I post pictures of my food, people are like, what is that? How'd you do that? What'd you do? And I promise you, like, I am a like 5 or less ingredient girl and it needs to all go in one pot. Like, that's how I roll. That's just how I cook. That's what works for my family. I cook almost all of our meals. So, like, but people want to learn how to do that. And so that's something I do. I am good at. It's easy for me and it will help other people. So that's going to be a lead magnet that I work on, because as I want to grow the retreat side of my business, that is something. So I'm not going to be like some other thing that I'm super interested in that doesn't grow my retreat business, like a book club. Like I love reading. I read every single day. I love reading, but I'm not going to really put that out there because the people that want that may not be the people that want to do yoga and come to retreats and all of that, if that makes sense. So I want to make sure the things that I'm sharing with people are things that it's going to attract the people that want to come to what I'm offering or purchase the ticket items, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's one of them.
That's good. But just really challenge yourself to like I don't think outside the box. Everyone says that, but just really think about what are some commonalities between the people that I feel called to serve, and what can I create that would help them? And it doesn't have to be just mind blowing. It could be something really simple like guided meditations. If you're a yoga teacher, a lot of people would benefit from strengthening their meditation practice, and a lot of them are interested in it.
And they'll do it because it's you. Like, let's put that out there because they can go to YouTube and find 5,000 or million, I don't even know, guided meditations. But there are people who will go through a meditation for healing because it's you. You have some sort of, whether it's a soft touch or a personal, like, these people personally. Like, remember, like, it's not like you're like, well, there's already a million out there, but there's only one you, and people will do something that's already out there because it's you. I promise you, the things I cook are not like groundbreaking, like earth shattering. It is not. It's so simple. But because people have connected with me on whatever else I've put out, they want to know, like, well, what else do you do that could help me? Right.
Yeah. So just think through. I'm just going to rattle off a few other ideas. We don't spend a whole lot more time on this, but I mentioned the PDF guides, checklists. It could be a free training or an online class of some sort. It could even be a practice. Hey, I created this practice so that if you ever can't get to the studio, you can still practice with me. Or maybe you make a couple of them, like a power, like kind of the different categories of stuff you offer. And what you can do with these is just have them in your back pocket so that when you're making a post, this is my next thing of like, how do you promote this? Like, how do people even find these things? One of those ways is if you have a website, you definitely want them on your website. Your homepage should be like a lead magnet. And then you can have a section of like resources. And then people are like, ooh, resources. Like, I want free resources. And then they can, download the stuff. Also, if you're making a social media post, I don't say every social media post doesn't need this particular call to action. I would say they all need a call to action, and that's another episode. We'll talk about that another time. But when it makes sense, Kristen's doing a post about retreats. It's a really easy way to say, by the way, I have this thing that you might find helpful. Like, go here to get it. If you're making a post about like mindset or anxiety or stress, like, by the way, if you struggle with this, I have a guided meditation that I put together on for peace or to battle anxiety. If you want that, I'd love to give it to you. Just head over here to blah, blah, blah and get it, or, however you decide to deliver it. So it's really easy ways to just nonchalantly just kind of slip it into stuff. And then if you have YouTube, I would say every YouTube video should have a lead magnet. That's where I would say that's different. Like, every video should have a lead magnet. But outside of that, I would say it just kind of depends on what you're posting and where.
And it doesn't have to be a different lead magnet. Like, you can repurpose the same one.
Yeah. So like that, and that's where I was going with like that. That's why you want one that covers your whole audience, because that'll be your default. And then when you have a post or a video or a thing that's more specific and you have a lead magnet for that, then you can use that one instead. But that way you're not doing a video or you're doing a post on, you're talking about nutrition and you give them like a meditation lead magnet. That doesn't make sense. So maybe if you're going to talk about nutrition and that's something you like to talk about, maybe come up with like, here are my top 3 recipes for clean eating, or I don't know, whatever. Like, you can get creative with like, if I have a bucket of something I talk about, I should probably have a lead magnet for that category of things. And that anytime you're talking about that, you can lead people to that lead magnet. Here is another pro tip while I'm on this topic too of how to promote it. There's this thing that's been working pretty well on Facebook in particular. We call it a 2-step post. So it's just a short graphical, like, have you seen that like full colored screen where it's just like 2 lines, or it's got to be short or else it goes away. Where you can do like, hey, do you want to know how I blah 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 blah, like something that's really like, oh my gosh, yeah, I want that. Comment below the word. So like, Kristen, what it could be like, do you want my top 5 recipes that everyone wants when they go to my retreats or whatever? Better than that, but like saying something kind of like that. Like, comment below the word recipe, and like I'll get it to you. And then people will comment that, and then you can reply to that and say like, awesome, like, can I send you a direct message? And they'll reply like, yeah. Now you can direct message them, and they're looking for it. So like, don't just post the link. This isn't a very specific strategy as a way to get into their direct messages where it doesn't get like lost, and establishes that connection to then further develop that relationship. So 1 comment, they raise their hand and say like, yes, I want it. 2, you say, awesome, can I send you a direct message? They'll say yes. And then the 4th one is like, great, I just sent it to you. And that way, when they see that, they will go and check direct messages, and they see it. If you just send them the link, they might go to it, they might not. If you just say, hey, I sent you a DM, they might not see that again. But doing it this way is much better. They will actually like check their DMs and get back to you. And I've used this on the video business side and it works. What it also does is it sends signals to Facebook that this post is valuable because you didn't have one comment, you have 4 comments. So it's just like engagement, like, whoa. When I did this, I think I had like 80 or 100 comments, something like that. Like it works. Don't do it all the time. Don't do this with every post. That gets annoying. You're going to wear your people out. But to do it once in a while, it can be really, really valuable. Another thing you can do, and it works really well, but it takes a little bit more time and effort and thought and energy, is to do some kind of quiz. I don't know if you've seen this where you're like, take my quiz to like, I don't even have a great example. I haven't done this one personally because the other ones are just way easier and I feel like more effective. But I don't know if you were like a personal, let me think about this. If you were like a financial planner or something, you could say like, take my quiz to know if you need a financial planner, or I don't know. There are ways. There are people that do it successfully. I haven't really messed around with it. It seems like it takes a lot more work than what I want to put into it.
Hey friend, I want to pause this conversation really quick to let you know that Nick so graciously sat down and coached me through what it looks like to build a lead magnet and kind of get started in this email building process. And I asked him if we could record it. So we have a recording of this coaching call and you can do it alongside us. And we want to give that to you for free.
The other benefit you get from this is you actually see this in action. So the thing that we're teaching you how to do, you can actually see it happen right in front of you by going to christiansdoyoga.com/email. We'll send you all the info. You can watch that video there. You can actually see how this works. All right. If you're not already on our email list, it'll put you on our email list. You'll probably get some other emails that automatically come to you just to help get to know more about us. We'll actually give you even some other free bonuses that I didn't even tell you about yet. So go ahead and do that, get signed up, and just see this in action and how it can work. And then just let that get the wheels turning for how you can use this in your business.
So if you'll go to christiansdoyoga.com/email, we'll send that to you right away. Now back to the show.
Okay, so a few more thoughts on how to grow your list. Another way is to use contests and giveaways. This works really well when you're doing something new. So this might be a good time for you to do this. Like, hey guys, I'm launching my own email list as a way to, and pro tip here, anytime you're talking about you, as fast as you can, spin it to them about how this benefits them. No one cares about you. Let's all be honest. Like, you don't really care about me. You care about how I can help you.
Yes.
And this is the way that we're wired. Now, eventually, when you get to know someone, when that relationship has been nurtured, you start to care more about that person. But in the beginning, you don't even know them. So like, why would you care? So as soon as possible, you can create something that's like, hey guys, I'm creating an email list as a way to better communicate with you, help you stay in touch with what's going on so that I can really help you like reach your goals or whatever, spin it towards how you help them. And as a special celebration for launching this, I'm running a contest that 3 people are going to be selected at random to win a shirt, a water bottle, a private session with you. Like that would be awesome. Like something that's like people are going to be like, I want that. And it can be, you're going to select one winner. You're going to select 3 winners. You have 3 things, like whatever. Let your mind go with what you can do. But it's a good way, a contest or a giveaway, to get people on the list because they have to sign up. So here's what you do is you say, go here and sign up and get on that list. And then like from there, just put the parameters around like, in a week, I'm going to select the winner, or, on this date, we're going to select the winner, and we'll notify you via email that, you've won or whatever. So it can be a good way to get someone on the list or like, yeah, I want that. I don't do a ton of contests and giveaway. What?
I'm just laughing. That's the most excited I think I've ever heard you on this podcast. So it caught me off guard.
Now, I don't do a ton of contests, giveaways. I think they have their place and it's okay to do them sometimes. What will end up happening is you're going to get people on your list who aren't really a good fit. They're just getting on there to get the free thing. And that's where I want to be. So the way to go around that is the free thing needs to be something that you already offer, because then if that person's interested in that thing, like that's part of your audience, like that's the person you're called to serve. if you're like, I'm going to give away an iPad for getting on my list, I'm like, oh, I'm joining that. Like, I don't care about you, but I want an iPad, so make the free thing something that is what your target audience would follow you for. And then in general, you want a default place to send people that anytime, like if you mention like, hey, I sent an email, or hey, people on my email list, like you're going to have people that are going to say, how do I get on your email list? So you want to have somewhere to send them. And if you have a website, hopefully the front page, like I already said, your homepage is a lead magnet, or has the lead magnet. Or you can have like just a page that's like unlisted, that's not like a public page on your website, but it's a page anyone can access with the link. And it can just be like again, not a newsletter. Don't you get my newsletter? No newsletters. But if you just have a landing page, whether you have a website or you can do this in MailChimp or somewhere else, like have a landing page that the sole purpose is just to get them on your email list. And what you can do is design it in a way that really spells out the benefit of why they should follow you. So you just want to list out like, hey, I love here are the things that I love to help people with. I share this and I share that and I whatever. Like don't do the features. So this is something I talk about a lot in our coaching programs of benefits versus features. We all default to like the numbers of like how many things I send you and how long the videos are and like all the stuff you're going to get. They need to know that, but not first. You want to share what's the benefit of following you. So if you want to reset your mind, renew your mind and your spirit and your body, if you like, what are the things it does for them? Lead with that. So just have this page ready of like kind of leading them through. So if that's you, I would these are the kind of things that I share with people on my email list. So I'd love to share that with you as well. Put your info below, and I'll send you something right away or something like that. Just it can feel conversational, but just talk them through why would someone want to be on your list? What do they get? Here are the things that I share and what I give people, and then how do they do it? Put your email in. Boom. And pro tip here is some of this we cover in the video that I did with Kristen to set her stuff up. But just to mention it here again, that a landing page there should be one purpose of that page. You should not have a menu that has all your other stuff. You should not link to your social media accounts. Only have the one thing you want them to do. You want them to join your email list. So anytime you're making a landing page, like and pay attention to our stuff, anything that we do for Christians Do Yoga, if it's a sign up page or like an email or a sales page or just anything that it's a landing page and not just a regular website page, notice that there will not be a menu. There will not be links to other stuff because I don't want you to get sidetracked. Like you're there for that one thing. So another pro tip. Next, you're going to want to have a landing page or a sign up page for every lead magnet that you create. That way, when you're talking about, hey, get my recipe thing, you have a page to send them to. So it could be yourwebsite.com/recipes. Or if you're using MailChimp or some other tool where you can create landing pages, it'll be some other, whatever the link is, like you can share that link where they can get that specific thing. Again, you don't want to say, go to my website. And they're like, where do I find it? You don't want, they'll get lost. Like it needs to be like, click this link and they go right to this thing. And where the only thing on that page is download this lead magnet. And then treat each of those as a landing page. So don't have a menu. Now, all that other stuff that I said applies here. And same thing as your main sign up page. You want to have, what are the benefits of this thing? Don't just say, hey, get my 5 favorite recipes. And they're like, eh. But if you're like, hey, if you are a busy woman and don't have time to spend hours in the kitchen every single day and time to find all these recipes and like just spell out the pain point and the problem it solves. Like maybe you're like me and you hate having to cook a meal every day. Well, guess what? You don't have to. I figured out a way to meal plan and prep one day a week and take care of meals for my family for the week. If that's something if you're interested in getting that, put in your email below and I'll send it your way. So like you want to sell it, even though it's for free, you still need to sell it so that people are like, you draw them in. They're like, yes, I want that. You want them saying, yes, I want that. Here's my email address. One last little tip before we move on. You can use something called tags as a way to organize your list. And I go into this in depth with Kristen on the call that we recorded. So make sure you get that if you're going to set this up. I think that'll be really helpful. But tags are a way that you can mark this person with interests with things that they're involved, with things that they have attended. It's just a way to kind of segment your list to say, I want to email all the people who went to this specific retreat because I have another one at that same location. You can do that. If you wanted to say, I want us to send an email to anyone who's shown interest in retreats, you can do that as well. So tags are a really powerful way to segment your list and to be able to reach certain demographics or certain parts of your list without having to email your whole list every single time with everything and maybe stuff they're not interested in. It can get a little overwhelming, so don't let it. Just start using it when you can, but like even if you don't use them at the beginning, like it's fine. You can add tags later, and that's another powerful reason to keep track of email addresses. And like if someone signs up for a retreat, you can make sure that you have that email address somewhere. And then later you can say, all right, so this person, I'm going to make sure I tag them as this retreat. Like you can tag them after the fact. But it's also how you can do automations. It's a way to trigger automations that when someone downloads this particular lead magnet, or when someone purchases this thing, or when someone first subscribes to my email list, I can send them specific things automatically. And tags are one of the methods of doing that. And in your questions, you had said things like to not do. So I just want to cover some do's and some don'ts before we move on to some platform options for building your email list. So first, I want to say, what should you not do or avoid? And I would say, don't email too often. A lot of people have different thoughts on this. Some say email like 3 times a week. I think that's a little excessive. Some say email once a week. Some say every day. I don't know. It's all over the map. But I would say once a week is fine. And if that, let me back up. I would say whatever you feel like you can commit to doing consistently, commit to that. So if it's overwhelming and you're like, I can't do another thing, just do it once a month. Chris, I believe that's what
What I'm
Kristen is.
doing. Yeah.
So you don't have to do it once a week. You can just do it once a month. Now that email is going to be a little bit more involved because you're waiting a month to share all the stuff, but that's okay. Another approach would be what is going to be in that one email, and maybe you break it up into pieces that you share across the whole month and send one a week. Maybe the first email is this first section of what you were going to put in that big email. So there are different ways to do it. There's not a wrong or a right. You just want to do it frequently enough that people don't forget about you, but not so frequently that they're like, oh my gosh, unsubscribe. Like,
Right.
stop bugging me.
As I'm building mine, so my goal was for 6 months to send one email a month because that's what I could commit to. And that's what got me out of the stuck zone or the like paralysis is like I can commit to doing one email. So mine is broken up into 3 sections. I have like my inspiration, like my personal, like just kind of whatever encouragement section, I guess. And then I have some informational things. And I always end with like my favorite things. Like these are 3 things that I found: my favorite podcast, my favorite pens, my favorite lipstick, like whatever, just something light and casual. So it's kind of broken up. So all 3 or all of my emails run that same model. But then my goal is after that 6 months to add a second email and make them shorter. So you hit it. And I was going to slide in there too if you hadn't, and say just do something that you can be consistent with, because that's going to be like if I send 12 emails in a year, that's 12 more than I sent the last 10 years of my career. So like do what you can that's sustainable and use some of these other tools. Like if you're sending one big email, then definitely have more, things for them to get involved in. If they're only going to spend that time with you once a month, make sure they can find you and follow you and engage with you as well.
To give you something to shoot for, or what would be ideal, would be 1 email a week. That's just kind of a general part of your strategy of like the inspiration, a story, offerings, like whatever, just something that's just kind of regular and consistently on the same day, same time. And then it's okay to maybe send another one occasionally. I don't think every week you have to like, I got to send 2 emails, but I would say have one regular one. And then if there's something additional or new going on, it's okay to send another email sometime that week. Try to not do it on the same day. Try to spread it out and plan a little bit. Like, oh, I have this special pop-up coming up on Saturday, and normally I send out my emails on Friday. Well, how about you send an email on Tuesday that's just about the pop-up? Like, hey, I want to let you guys know that I'm doing this special class in the park. It's free, it's donation based, whatever. Like, whatever's going on, like it's okay to send like a couple during the week. Number 2 on the don't list is don't email unrelated things. So if you're I don't think you would do this, but like I've seen some people, for instance, there's a guy who was doing more like audio stuff. So I'm into like audio and video, and it was a guy sending stuff about audio stuff, and he sent an email about like his weight loss journey, and it was a total disconnect. I'm like, I'm not following you for that. One, you're not fit. And like, that's great that you want to get fit. And I support you in that. I'm not following you for fitness advice because you're not fit. And like, that's just not why I'm following you. So if it's something that is related, even if it's not like, hey, I want to start talking about something new, but it's related, like that's okay. If you're a yoga teacher and you want to maybe talk a little bit about nutrition, that's related enough, like that's okay. If you suddenly want to start talking about planting a garden, you're going to lose people. And then like that's going to be a real quick unsubscribe. Like, what? I didn't follow you for this.
That's a really good example because I want to start a garden, but I don't think my email list cares if I want to start a garden. And it doesn't pour back into my business or my impact or my influence. So it's a really good example because I want to do that.
Now, if you are a fitness instructor and you talk heavily about nutrition and clean eating, and your audience is interested in like, I want to have my own herb garden, or like, how do I grow my own vegetables? That could be related. But again, it just kind of depends. There's no right or wrong. There's no, this works always for everybody, but just like run it through that filter of, is this something my audience would follow me for based on what they said yes to in the first place?
Mm-hmm. It's like
And
stay in your lane, essentially. stay,
yeah.
stay in your lane when it comes to this. Yeah.
And that's not to say you have a new passion or new business idea, like that, don't do that. I'm not saying to not do that, but that should probably be its own platform. That's something new. That's not something related.
Yeah.
Number 3, don't sell too often. So again, the caveat here is like people are following you because like they're coming to your classes because they want to buy what you have to sell. They love taking classes with you or whatever, but they don't want to see an email every day that's like, hey, come to class, buy this, sign up for this. So just don't do it too often. I really like that 4-to-1 ratio of like 4 regular emails and then 1 sell. Now, I would say if you're doing 1 a month, that probably doesn't apply to you.
Yeah.
It's more of like if you have a weekly cadence, let's do like 3 emails that are just what's going on and inspirational, and then 1 that's like, hey, buy
An
this thing.
invitation. Yeah.
Yeah. But it is okay to just even like nonchalant, just like, by the way, don't forget I have a retreat going on. So if you're interested, like sign up, because that to me feels really like, hey, if I'm interested, I'll click. And hey, if I'm not, I don't care. But I'm not like, stop spamming me.
Yeah.
And then don't email too infrequently. So the once a month is like the bare minimum. I would say don't drop less than once a month. So even though like you're real busy, you've got a lot going on, oh, I just can't commit to once a week. Great. At least once a month. And if you're like, oh my gosh, I just don't know if I can commit to that. Like, all right, let's pull up let's put your big girl underwear on. And
Yoga
like,
pants.
I got to push you a little bit. Like it's uncomfortable. It's hard. It's something new. Like you just got to do it.
And I'll say, like, again, we go into this more in the coaching call that we did together, recorded. This is where some of the automation can come in as well, because it starts emailing on your behalf. So you do all the work on the front end, and it's continuing to email them once they've connected with you, and you're not doing that manually. So I think there's some value in that too.
Yeah. And there's a lot of power in that even as you develop your business, and maybe you develop some things that are more of like a course or some kind of like digital product of some sort. And there definitely are things you could do as a yoga teacher that you could make. Like there are ways to automate that when someone gets on my email list, they're put in this sequence that over time sends them a few emails and like sells them this product in a very non-sleazy way, but just, it's okay to sell stuff. There are ways to automate that as well. So there's a lot of power in that. Now, I just want to give you some do's. So that's what not to do. Here's what to do. 1, start. Just start. Stop waiting. Just start little by little, build little by little. Don't get overwhelmed, but just start making progress. 2, do what you say you're going to do and follow through. So what I mean here is like if you announce somewhere, hey, this is what I'm gonna do, like I'm gonna run this contest and whatever, like and like in the middle of it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so hard, I'm having problems, and like I don't want to do it, or I was like, I know I said I was gonna do it, but I'm not. Like, don't do that. Follow through. Just in anything that you're saying you're committing to, that you've made public commitments, make sure that you do that.
Yeah, it builds trust with your audience. They need to trust you even before they like you or know you. And that's something that you say often is build the know, like, trust factor. But I think one of the best ways to build trust with your audience is to follow through.
Yeah, and I would say this goes run the gamut of everything you offer. If you say early bird discount ends midnight on this night, like make it end. Don't make exceptions. I mean, you can make some exceptions privately if you feel led to because someone is financially unable. I'm not saying any of that, but if you got to do what you say you're going to do, and that includes cutting things off, because if you don't hold that boundary, they're not going to believe you next time.
And they won't be as quick to respond or,
Yeah.
accept your invitation to what you're inviting them into.
If they know that you're going to give on this boundary, then yeah, they're like, well, I know she says that you have to sign up by this date, but I know that I can sign up later. So they won't. And related to emails, if in your welcome sequence or when people first get on your list and you send them an email, which I recommend doing that automatically. If you say, hey, I'm gonna email you once a week with blah 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 blah, email them once a week. If you said you're gonna do that, then do that. Or if you said I'm not gonna spam you, I'm just only gonna send emails, whatever, just whatever that is, just commit to that and make sure that you follow through. So the last thing I wanted to discuss was just some platform options. There's a ton of them out there, and there's new ones coming up that I don't even know about or haven't tried yet. So don't take this list as like I got to use one of these because Nick said it. Uh, Mailchimp is one of the most recommended ones because it's fairly user friendly. It's not perfect. There's some weird things about it that are kind of like, what? But once you learn it, then you're like, okay, I just know this is how I do that thing. And there's tons of tutorials out there for MailChimp specifically. So if you're like, how do I do this in MailChimp? Like you'll find the info. Active Campaign is another one. And like, let me back up. MailChimp used to be my go-to because it was free up to a certain amount of subscribers. They kind of changed that and it's still like free, but it's like you can't do automations, which to me is key. So you have to pay for some features. And if you're going to pay for features, you might as well check a few different options to make sure that you're paying for the right features and you're paying the right amount for the right features. What I don't like about MailChimp is the way that they're doing their automations. Instead of saying you can have this many email sequences that are automated, now it's like you have automation journey points or something. Like it's really confusing, even for me. Like I don't get confused usually with tech stuff. And I had to really read through it and like try it and like, okay, this is what they mean. I don't really like how they do that. They're really trying to get you to buy like one of the more expensive options. And I don't like that. But they're all very similar. It's usually like within a certain range of subscribers and for these features, it's this much. And then if you have more subscribers, it's a little bit more expensive. So anything you pick is probably going to cost some money. There might be some free tools out there. And I think what I'm going to commit to here is there are some other tools that can do email and that maybe have some like online course kind of stuff offerings in there that are either less expensive or maybe even free. So I'm going to commit to you guys publicly that I'm going to get a few more recommendations from some people who I know who actually use them to come up with a list of like, if you need a more affordable budget option, look into these. So I don't have that for you now, but I promise I will get that to you. So reach out to us on like Instagram or emails or whatever and ask me for that list. Ask us for that list and I will get that to you. Another option, we use Kajabi for Christians Do Yoga. I don't recommend that for unless you have online courses. I don't recommend that because it's really built for course creators. And a lot of the tools that are in there you won't use. And it's just it's kind of pricey if you're only using it for email. And email is not the best thing. Like that's not what it's best at. So I wouldn't look at that unless you are wanting to do course making online courses, which then it is a really great tool for that. But it's not cheap. So here are some things just to consider as you're looking at the platforms. Do you already have a website, and do you want to integrate with that? So a lot of these tools, it doesn't matter where your website is at, a lot of the tools can integrate with various websites. So if your website is built on Wix, if it's built on Squarespace, if it's just a WordPress site, like there's tons of website builders out there, and most of them integrate with these bigger tools. So just keep that in mind. You want to make sure, that's my point here, is when you're evaluating tools, and if that's something that you want, you have a website and you want to integrate it. That just means I can make a landing page on my website. I can put a form where the people fill out their email and it automatically signs them up on the email list. That's what I mean by integrating. You want to make sure that your tool can do that. So if you're on a budget and you're finding one of these cheap tools or free tools and you're wanting to integrate and you can't, that's a deal breaker. Like you're going to have trouble there. And it's not impossible to move from one to another, but it is annoying. Let me just put that out there. We used MailChimp for a long time for CDY. And when we got Kajabi, I moved over to Kajabi, and it was an annoying process. There's no way around that. So you want to try to pick something you're going to stick with for a while. Number two, do you also want to offer some kind of online offering, whether that's like online live yoga, online recorded yoga, maybe it's a course or whatever, like that will dictate. Like ActiveCampaign is just an email tool. It's not all of that other stuff. If you want to do courses, I wouldn't use ActiveCampaign. Now it does integrate, but it's an additional cost. Now you have your course platform and you have an email platform, and they both cost money. So if you're wanting the online offering piece, I would look for one that does email as well, so you only have one tool. Okay, and then obviously you need to just consider your budget. Do you have $200 a month to pay for this? Kajabi will work. Could you do 15 to 20 bucks a month? Then MailChimp or ActiveCampaign, I forget the exact cost. It's somewhere in that world. Then that would be a good option for you. And then there's stuff all in the middle. So you just really need to look at your budget and what you feel like you can commit to. And then also the complexity. Some of these tools can be really complicated, and some of them are really easy to use. I would say MailChimp is on the easier side. ActiveCampaign was a little bit more clunky for me to figure out. So you might just Google, like, how complicated is this tool, or ask around. So the last thing on this, like, I know no one wants to pay more money for another app. I don't, you don't, none of us do. But if you consider using this tool effectively can help bring revenue in for your business, it'll more than pay for itself. One, there's some things you can automate. So it's kind of like a mini admin assistant. Things that you were manually emailing before, you can automate, and it can help you there. And also, like, it can grow your revenue. So like, Kristen, if you've got retreats coming up, you send an email and you mentioned retreats, and now you had like 3 people sign up for a retreat. Didn't something like that happen to you?
Yeah, my very first email that I sent out, I've decided that I'm only going to put my links, or my links first, I should say, for people to get access to my retreats in my email. So if someone asked me, like, hey, when are you doing another retreat? I would, of course, send that to them. But having a way to send them, like, hey, get on my retreat list, and this will automatically send you my upcoming retreats or whatever. I want them to know that that's where to go to get discounts and to get early access or first access, instead of just putting it all over social media, which is what I've done before. And that works too. But this, I think, can grow and automate and like bring some ease to some of that.
Yeah. And I really believe, especially with the way you're running retreats specifically, that it will help that, and that you've already done well selling them out, or almost. And I feel like this could even push that over the edge even more. It creates a little bit of FOMO of like, I need to be on this email list to get the info that I want, but it also helps you reach more people that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to reach. But it creates this scarcity in a good way. You'll hear us talk about scarcity sometimes. Like, a scarcity mindset is bad. I don't want a scarcity mindset. That's something we need to work through. Creating scarcity and urgency with your offerings is a good thing. We want to help motivate people, because let's be honest, we're all lazy and we all procrastinate. That's just the truth of it. So when there is a deadline, or when you have to do this thing to get this thing you want, you will do it because that's the only way to get what you want. Like, we just need sometimes a little extra reason to take action. And so providing that, this is one way to provide that. Like, hey, like, I'll send you all that info. Head over here and get on my email list, and I'll send you all that. I'll keep you up to date. Or like you had said, the only way to get this is to be on my email list. Or like, I send discounts and things that I don't send to other people. Like, you have to be on my email list to get that. And they're like, sign me up. I want to be on that. If you think about how much money do you make from one new sign up for a retreat? It's probably a good chunk. And let's say that without the email, this person wouldn't have signed up. Now, that may or may not be true, but let's say it's true because there will be that. Like there will be people who signed up because they had the email or went through this process that otherwise maybe wouldn't have seen your social media post or would have got distracted and forgot to come back to it. So email can be a great way to just remind people, by the way, the deadline's coming up. Oh, I forgot. That's their trigger to go and now sign up, where before they maybe would have forgot and not seen a reminder on social media. So how much money does that one sign up bring into you? How many months now of your email platform does that pay for? Like it doesn't take a lot. When you have someone join your series and now you've made an extra $100 from that, like that pays for your next several months of the email. And that's just one person. Or if you have multiple people pay for things or join things that maybe they otherwise wouldn't, like that's more than paying for this tool. So view it like that. This is an investment in the foundation of your business that will enable you to make more money and have a bigger impact and reach more people. So it's an investment. It's not an expense. Although on your taxes, it is an expense and it is a
Write
deduction
it off.
that will save you. It's less income to be taxed on. I also want to just mention unsubscribes. Now, just like getting like hate comments or people disagreeing with you on social media, so that can stop people from like posting because they're like, I don't want trolls. But the same thing can happen with emails and people like unsubscribe to your email list. It can feel so personal. Like Susie doesn't want my emails anymore.
I love
Like
Susie.
it can it can be so, you can let it hurt your feelings, or you can just say like, you know what? Think about yourself. Sometimes you just hit a point where you're like, you know what? I'm just not interested in the emails they're sending anymore. Or like, I just get way too many emails. It's time to remove some stuff. So what I recommend, most of these tools allow you to set notifications to say like, hey, let me know when I get a new subscriber. Let me know when I get an unsubscribe. Shut that one off. Don't even be notified. Don't even pay attention to it. I don't even really look at those numbers anymore. I just don't care. And here's why. Those are not the people that you're called to reach through this avenue. The people who are interested, the people who are going to take action are going to stay on it. And the people who aren't, they're not the right people. And this is not a judgmental thing about anything about those people. We're just saying they're just not the people who you're called to reach through this avenue of communication. That's okay. Let them go and make room for the people who are. So I know this is a lot and it can feel like drinking from a fire hydrant. I don't know if you've ever seen a fire hydrant when they're letting water out. It's like, holy cow.
Here's my teaspoon. Let me just try to get a little sip.
And it's like your face is like,
Yeah.
oh, like you're floating down the street now. uh, don't let this overwhelm you. And it is a choice. Have we done an episode on that? I think we did.
Not well, we've mentioned that overwhelm is a choice, but we haven't gone into the mindset of it yet. I don't
Okay.
think.
Well, that's we need to do that because
Yes,
that's
we
a
do.
major mindset shift that can really set you free. But overwhelm is a choice, and you can fight me on that all day long. You are choosing to be overwhelmed. Now, I'm not saying you're choosing for the thing to happen to cause you to be overwhelmed, but you are deciding to let that overwhelm you. So if that's you, you're letting this overwhelm you. And you know what? Set yourself straight. You know what? I don't need to build this whole thing at once. I just need to do what's next. I just need to do my next step, just work on the next thing. I don't need to get overwhelmed by this. I'll figure it out. I'm smart, I'm capable, and I know people who can help me if I get stuck.
Little
Number
self-coaching, little self-parenting there.
mhm. Number 2, just start putting blocks in place. So don't look at climbing Everest and go, "Oh, I can't climb Everest." All right. When you're climbing Everest, you take it in sections. Not that I've ever done that, but if I were like, you take it in sections, right? You're like, I just need to get to this checkpoint. Okay, now I just need to get to this checkpoint. So your checkpoints are, I just need to do the evaluation and pick a tool. Great. I've picked a tool. Now what? Well, now I need to actually create an account, put in all the stuff, start setting it up, start. Okay, now that's done. Now what? Now I need to add my people. Like just take it in little bite-sized pieces. It's not that overwhelming. Okay. And then if you need help, get it. Whether that's a tutorial, you're searching for stuff on YouTube, or you reach out and get a coach or someone like us to help you, get help.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, thank you for sharing all of that with it. Like you literally just gave us really honestly, you guys listening to this, that could have been a paid workshop. Like we could have charged for this workshop. It was so packed with so much good information from not only just has Nick studied this, but he's done this. And so I know, like, even for myself, like taking in the information, like he said, can feel like drinking water from a fire hydrant. Even if you guys are watching the video on YouTube, I have a whole page and back of notes that I took just during this podcast recording of things to do and note. And it can feel like so much. And while I feel like I have a good like leg up on where I'm going to go next and some ideas, it can feel really overwhelming. So we just want to remind you that this is the work that we do. We offer what we call a strategy call. We even have like a package of strategy calls. They're about 90 minutes, and we kind of just sit down, we share screens with you, and we go through and walk you through things like this. And again, if you haven't grabbed the free version of the strategy call where Nick walked me through it, just so you can have an idea, go grab that at christiansdoyoga.com/email. We'll send that to you. And this may be your next step. This may be like, okay, I have the information. I know this is what I need to do. I know why. I know what I want to do. I just need help with the how. That's why we're here. That's why we are doing what we're doing, is to make a space for you to come and say, I have no idea. Like, think about your first, like when you were teaching yoga, how many students came in, they were like, I'm uncertain, I'm unsure. Like, I know I need this. My doctor says I need this. I want to do this. How you had to create a space for them to come in and learn the process, learn about their own body, learn about how to breathe and move. This is no different. It's just a different thing, right? So many of you may feel that way, like, oh my gosh, this feels overwhelming. I know I need to do it. My doctor says I need to do it, but I don't even know where to start. Start here. Start with shoot us an email at Nick or Kristen. You can pick one of us at christiansdoyoga.com. Let us know you're interested in some strategy sessions, and we can get those booked and help you take your next step. You do not have to do this alone. I didn't do it alone. Even while we were recording this podcast, like as he's dropping like little truth bombs and nuggets, I'm like writing it out because I need this information too. So we want to make that available to you as well.
So if you did find this helpful, and I hope that you did, I really, like Kristen said, like this all comes from years of experience actually doing this. You're only hearing this because we did this, because we built the brand with Christians Do Yoga using this methodology. And that the only reason you're hearing this is because of using this strategy. So it works. I know that it works because we use it. So if you did find that helpful, we would love it if you would share it with someone else. Like, you probably know someone else who could benefit from this, and we would love to help them. That's why we're doing what we're doing. We don't run ads. We're not sponsored. Like, we're just doing this to help people and make a difference. So a way you can pay us back for that, pay it forward, is to share this with someone else and help them grow their business and enrich their life. So make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you catch our future episodes, and we will see you in the next one.
Maybe you're like me and you're a yoga teacher and or studio owner, and you recognize the importance of building an email list. And
your dog just decides to destroy something or shake. What? What is that?
this is why I had him outside. I thought he would just lay down. Maui, go lay down.
I wish he had video of whatever was just happening.
He has Aniston's slipper and he just ran in and he slid
He
on
like
the floor.